Well, folks, LA Little here with TA Today, and what we're looking at today is those semiconductors. Man, each time we call them dead, they come bouncing back, but now you got to wonder with this huge reversal on Friday, is that the end of the bull ride? Is there anything left in the tank here? I mean, this has been bullish for so long so far. This is NVDA, of course, and look at this ride higher. Got a big spill here, another spill there. Now you got the big bearish engulfing. What does it mean? Is the SOXX done? The semiconductors going to take a break? Well, notice the big volume escalation on a bearish reversal. What that does is it tells you two things. One, yeah, probably getting some sort of topping action here. Two, that escalation puts volume at the top. And that's really what you'd like to see. Now, this is not the huge volume at the top that we've seen elsewhere. I mean, even here on the weekly, you can see some larger volume than we had on Friday. So that doesn't mean this is definitely it. But it gives you some idea that, yeah, you've gone up far enough, fast enough, that potentially you got something happening here. And given that NVIDIA is such a whale, it affected everything, including the SOXX, where we see almost a mirror image of the same setup, right, where it goes up and then breaks. Volume escalation, much more volume escalation over here on the weekly. So when I look at the SOXX, this looks much more like what you would see doji, everything that you'd see at some sort of a topping point. That's because the broader market, not nearly the broader market in the SOXX, right, the semiconductors, not nearly as strong as NVIDIA itself. And if we go down the list of the top stocks in terms of weighting in this index, you can see the same sort of thing that you see here. Let's look at AMD, for example. What you've got, bearish engulfing, volume escalation, right? Some sort of a doji close. The other large weighting, of course, is AVGO, Broadcom. Here you actually had weakness from the beginning. Unlike the others, this was already dogging it before everybody else got going. So you got a weakness here. Can this one get down and break a swing point low? Yeah. Break a retest regen? Yeah. This one probably will. Volume escalation, right? This one is not one you want to chase at this point. You want to let it come back. That's a big weighting. Another big weighting, of course, is Intel. If we look at Intel a lot weaker, and we can see it did the same thing, big bearish engulfing, although it didn't have the volume escalation, but you left a doji. So the biggest weighting ones all had the same behavior, and that's why the SOXX itself has that sort of behavior that you see. Now, what does that mean, though? You know, if we go back to the SOXX here, you know, recall that if you're gonna get a top, you've got to break something to start with. You got to break a swing point low, or you got to do a retest regen. Well, the swing point low is higher, so that's what I'd be looking at. How far down is it? Well, from top to bottom here on the SOXX, that's about 11%, you know, to get from the top to the bottom. That's a pretty big percentage. If you go over on the weekly, I mean, it's even bigger, right? Because, you know, it's farther up. I mean, this one looks like it's going to print a swing point low here. You take that top to this bottom to break, you're talking about almost what looks like about 20%. So it's not going to do this anytime soon. First, it's going to build out something. Probably not going to break this anytime soon. And what is it going to build out? Well, it's going to build out some sort of a range in here, more than likely, at least on the daily, because you've got these support zones that you see, right? These are support. What they are essentially is expectations of where we believe demand will show up. That's what the TA Today charts do for you. They tell you where the demand is likely to show. And so if that's true, more than likely, given how much demand is there and the width of it, we're probably going to see buyers step in as it comes into that area. It may even bounce to start with and eventually work its way back. That will set up some sort of a range, potentially set up a higher swing point low before this one breaks, and then that will give you some sort of a topping process. Is it a big deal? Well, not really. This market just got too far ahead of itself. I mean, when you go vertical at the end, you're going to come vertical back at some point, and you're going to get a wipeout of all those that are pressing and pressing and pressing. And if you look at it over here on the weekly, I mean, seriously, this is the October lows. These are the highs we just set. We're approaching a double on the whole sector. That's fairly insane in such a short period of time. It needs to consolidate, folks, and that's all it's going to do. And when it does, you want to be a buyer in that consolidation. And as this starts to develop, we'll be able to determine where that range is going to be. That range probably is going to be somewhere, I would think, in that area at most. Okay, so that gives us about a 212 number. 212 is what? Bottom of the expected demand zone. So that's where I would probably be focused to start with, and then we'll see how it develops as we go along. That's a quick update on the SOXX. Essentially, looks like we probably got some sort of topping action taking place. They're not going to give it up immediately. They're certainly not going to give it up immediately in the star well that we have with NVDA, and that is going to probably set the table for some sort of a consolidation overall over the next few days and weeks. That's it for this time. Have a great one. Stay safe. See you next time.